Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next up is public comment. Mandy?
Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Board of Directors on any subject matter that is not on the meeting agenda and is within the board subject matter jurisdiction. Public comment periods are limited to 3 minutes per person, and the total amount of time for public comment is 15 minutes. Persons participating by way of video conference or teleconference shall ensure their audio is muted at all times except when the board chair announces public comment periods. At those designated times, members of the public wishing to speak shall enable their audio and state their name for the record. When multiple members of the public wish to speak, the clerk will determine the order of speakers and announce their name accordingly. To ensure proper conduct, the board reserves the right to mute the audio and video of any member of the public violating generally accepted principles and decorum of official public meetings.
Great, thank you. I know we have several cards. We'll start with those. First up is Mr. McWhorter.
Good morning, members. My name is Tom McWhorter, and I live in Olivehurst. I'd like to speak to you about the second spillway that you guys have proposed quite a while ago. Anyway, as I understand it, so far you guys have designated about $10 million for this project. And I guess the actual estimated cost at this time is around $250 million. I would like to urge you to vote no on this proposal. Okay, I don't remember exactly what the lifespan or the time span when it once in 500-year flood, I think it was supposed to cover. You won't be here. I won't be here. Everything's down to numbers. I think everybody here probably has a life insurance policy on them, so some actuarial has already put a number on a person. This money could be better spent in the county by supporting projects to bring all neighborhoods in our community up to standards that we expect today, like curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. And recently, we got $48 million, and it was not counting the $20 million, I guess you guys had earmarked to help. I hope that you consider including that so that all streets can get on that list. Mine did not get on that list, and I've lived there almost 32 years. Haven't seen 1 millimeter of asphalt laid on the road. We have a gravel tax. I believe it was put in about 20 years ago. You might want to consider something like that for the water. Thank you for your time. Have a nice week. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. McWhorter. McWhorter, yeah. Mr. Sharp?
Yes. Yes. Hello. Yes. There we go. Hello, Charles Sharp, Oregon House. I want to personally thank the Yuba Water Agency for your consideration of a $10,000 Bill Shaw grant for the Dobbins Oregon House Fire Protection District. This will pay for a tool to help get somebody out of a tight spot should it be necessary. So thank you. The Fire Safe Council has a program to help property owners develop a fire-wise community. The central element for the property owners is to meet a fire mitigation inspection. Presently, the program depends on property owners self-organizing and asking the Fire Safe Council coordinator for help. When I suggested to Allison a more active approach, which, by the way, Allison here, I think, anyway, active approach whereby the Fire Safe Council would initiate forming a fire-wise community, she agreed it was a good idea, but the council did not have the staff time. Perhaps the Yuba Water Agency, which already funds the Fire Safe Council, could help fund someone to take the lead in organizing fire-safe communities in the foothills. A fire-safe community is another layer to build more fire resilience into the land and buildings. Your new power facilities should be part of a fire-safe community. Director Messick, I hope you can take the lead on this. In the foothills are not by any measure well prepared for fire. More fire-wise communities will help. Willie said the Oregon House area could have some of the best fire protection possible, and he is right. However, the protection has to happen, and it has to be put in place. No one wants, anyway, so please consider that. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Any additional public comment from within the room or online, Mandy? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent items. Any board member questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a first. And a second. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, motion passes. Next, we will move on to discussion items, starting with number 3. Consider recommending approval of grant requests for the following grants. I'm not going to read each one of them. For the Community Impact Grant and Loan Program for the September 2023 application acceptance window, and the matter was recommended for approval by the Project Operations and Development Committee on December 5th, 2023. Terry, I understand we're going to take these in their kind of segments, and we'll take public comment and vote on each segment one at a time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So first, a little background just to remind everyone, we do have a grants policy where we have 2 grant application windows in March and in September. So today you're going to be hearing about the grants that were applied for in that September window. That grants policy also In that grants policy, the board also allocated $10 million a year towards this grant program. Now, sometimes when we get a grant application, especially for an infrastructure project, all of that money isn't going to be spent in that year. And so we'll estimate what year it's going to be spent and divide that out over future years. So in this grants cycle, out of the 10 million, we have 3.4 million left to allocate. So for this grant cycle, we received grant applications for about $24.9 million. Not all, of course, in this year. It's about 5 to 7 million in this year. In addition to the 24.9 million, there is a request for a cash flow loan from Camptonville CSD for $227 million. There's about 737, and I'll call your attention to the chart you have, which is probably the easiest in the board packet, easiest way to follow along. You'll notice at the bottom, there's a group of grants. It's about $737,000 that the staff recommended and the pod agreed just not appropriate at this time for a grant. It's not within our mission area. Maybe it's not quite ready for prime time. So at the bottom, you'll see those that are not recommended for award at this time. Out of the 24.9 million that was applied for, about 23.6 million are for infrastructure projects. And that's where the about 5 to 7 million for this year comes in. There's about $1 million that are for what I call community grants. So let me explain the two categories. The first one, when I call them infrastructure grants, those are primarily for flood risk reduction and water supply grants. Those are for big amounts, usually over several years. And those are for projects that are squarely within our mission area. Those are projects that if we owned that levee, if we owned that canal, we would be doing them. That would be a capital improvement project for us. That's one category, and that's the biggest category. That's the 24 million out of the 25 million. The other category that I refer to as community grants, those are grants for things that are they're really good projects, they're within our mission area, but we probably wouldn't initiate it because we don't own the asset, or it's just not high enough on our radar or our priorities as flood risk reduction and water supply projects. So with that, we talked to the pod to update our grants program. And the pod has given us direction to separate out those two categories in a grant policy update so that we can budget for those community grants every year. But then for the big investment, the infrastructure investments, we could really see what's there and see how much money is available to invest that year. And that could be a little more flexible so that if we don't have a lot of money coming in, we could maybe push those off to the future. So first quarter of next year, we'll be bringing back to you an update. For this round, what we're recommending is that you approve these grants for approval. It's going to take you a little over your 3.4 million that you had allocated, but we'll borrow from next year so that you have the budget to pay for those this year. And then when we do this grants update to the policy, we'll reconcile all that. So the way you're going to hear about these today is that we'll have each of the grant program managers that works in the different areas with the grantees to come up and do a really quick explanation of the grants. Then we'll pause if any of you have questions or if any of the grantees who are here wants to make a comment, we would do that. And then as the chair said, we'll vote on that. So I'm just going to introduce them all so that they'll come up quickly. Jackie Silman is going to handle the Bill Shaw grants, the water supply for Ellis Lake, the city of Marysville, and the miscellaneous grants. And she'll do those all in one chunk when she comes up. After that will be flood risk reduction. That's Sammy Nall. Creighton Avila is going to handle the watershed resilience grant. That grant program manager is Joanna Lassard, but she's not able to be here today, so Creighton is going to handle that. And then Kyle Morgado is going to handle the water supply and management. So with that, I'm going to call Jackie up so we can get to it. Fast.
And Jackie.
Good morning. Okay, we're going to start with the Bill Shaw Rescue Equipment and Training Grants. So we have 5 grants that we're going to just quickly go over. Dobbins Oregon House Fire Department is the Paratech Extradition Man and Machine Kit. We have the Foothill Fire Protection District with the self-contained breathing apparatus, cylinders. Linda Fire Department District, Water Rescue Equipment. Loma Rica Browns Valley CSD, communications upgrade. And then we have the Olivehurst Fire Department, portable radios and radio components that we're recommending funding. Okay.
Are there any questions or comments from the board on the Bill Shaw grants?
So moved.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any public comment on the Bill Shaw grants, including from any potential grantees that would like to speak?
Oh.
Well,
good morning. Again, my name is Kyle Heckstrom, the fire chief for London Fire Protection District, and the city is Marysville. I just want to take an opportunity to approach the board and thank you for all the years of the Bill Shaw grant and being a recipient for many years. We've been able to really maintain our water rescue equipment and all of our equipment amongst the Yuba County agencies, and we much appreciate the support and everything that the Yuba Water Agency has done for us. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Okay.
Ready?
So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes unanimously.
All right. So the second one is with the city of Marysville. This is Ellis Lake ongoing water quality treatment for the lake. And I guess I can leave it at that. You have any questions?
Questions and comments from board members?
Second.
Okay. Oh. Did you figure out who was the first and second? I know there were quite a few seconds.
I heard Charlie, yeah.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Great. Motion passes. And then the miscellaneous.
Yes. So Yuba County Office of Education, and I do have to share that last year Yuba County Office of Ed did have the opportunity to participate on a emergency stimulation with Yuba Water Agency. So that actually was pretty cool. And then that brought out the need for those radios and emergency response communication radios up in the foothills and all over their school sites. So with that, that's Yuba County Office of Ed. And then Linda County Fire Department, outboard motor replacement for a Zodiac rescue boat that is in need.
Okay, I have a first. Is there a second? Okay. I have a second from Andy, I believe. Any board question or comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Good morning. My name, members of the board. Once again, my name is Sammy Null. I am the Flood Risk Reduction Manager. In the September 2023 grant period, we had our reclamation district submitted a total of 6 grant applications for a total of $18.9 million. We have 6 projects. RD 2103's Dry Creek Rehabilitation Design Project is going to utilize recommendations from the 2016 feasibility study to develop a shovel-ready project that will result in a minimum of 100-year protection in the area protected by the Dry Creek South Levee. RD 817's problem identification report will evaluate the remaining flood risk and deficiencies to support a consistent level of protection for the Wheatland Basin and incorporate necessary components for FEMA certification. RD 784's pump station number 10 River Outfall project will construct a new permanent outfall pipe to the west, along with the installation of a 3rd stormwater pump and backup diesel generator. RD 784's levee storm drain pipe replacement project will replace up to 6 existing storm drain pipes deemed unacceptable by DWR in the rural portion of the RD's levee system. And RD 10's 2 projects for the Feather River Reach F10 and F11 seepage and stability mitigation projects are for 2 separate projects for different locations of the system that were both identified as critical reaches and displayed through seepage and landside slope stability concerns from their 2019 problem identification report. And this funding would be used to evaluate and prepare seepage design and documents for regulatory and environmental compliance. That's all I had.
Board questions or comments? Yes.
I stood on the levee in 1955 when the water was lapping over the top. And in relation to the earlier comment about, a flood in 500 years, if you've ever stood on a levee and you knew either your levee was going to go out or the one across the river was going to go out, you would say you want to do everything you can. And it's hard to visualize 1 in 500, but it's also hard to visualize 1 in 100 because anyone could come in the same year. So I caution everyone to think when we talk about levee improvements, which we are empowered to do and we were formed to do. And we've been fortunate that we have power revenue to do it with. I would want to reiterate to everyone, this is our primary mission, and we should find projects that are beneficial for flood protection. And in that, these include, I would like to say to Andy and Director Fuhrer that they've been able to prove to us that when we had the Oroville evacuation, that we need roads and drains so people can move out and those sort of things. And we've been able to have the water agency buy into that same project. So I think that this is not only what we were meant to do, but we should do. And I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm so moved.
Okay, but before we, is there a second? Okay, Director Bishop.
I wanted to second that, but I'll accept.
I'm sorry.
No, but I had a question too. I had a question too. The Dry Creek levee in 2103 that we're taking the next step on. What would you guess? How long will it take to get that shovel-ready project designed? And I'm saying this because, like Charlie, we had a breach on that levee in '97. And in 2017, we were pretty concerned. I was on the 2103 board at that time in 2017. So I've spent a lot of time on that levee, and it's pretty primitive. So I'm curious what the
3 years. We're estimating about 3 years.
3 years to be ready for the next step.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. I believe it was Director Matthews and Director Bishop. Any public comment on this item?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, members of the board. My name is Tony Diaz with MBK Engineers, representing Reclamation Districts 10 in Marysville, 817, and 2103 in Wheatland. Just want to take the opportunity to thank you all for the continued investment in flood risk reduction projects in the county, and it's great to have an amazing funding partner in the agency, and we look forward to continuing that relationship. So, thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Additional public comment?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Patrick Marr. I'm the General Manager for Reclamation District 784. And I as well want to take the opportunity to thank you for considering our grant applications, and it will further pursue the goal of flood risk reduction in this county, and look forward to continuing to make things stronger and better than ever. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so, Mr. McWhorter.
Morning, board. Tom McWhorter here. Hey, twice now I've heard the term shovel ready, but I also heard 2 to 3 years of engineering. And that to me is a conflict of definition. So I would like to have you guys define to the public what shovel ready means. And if you're going to approve this money, then we start the engineering, because I just see a great big disconnect there. So if you could answer that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
I could do that. So, Tom, when I mentioned shovel ready, that's what the grant is asking for, is to do that engineering so that we can get shovel ready, which would mean that we'll be ready to rebuild that levee. And I also want to mention, I think in all of science, the most poorly named terms are for flood, the 100-year flood and the 200-year flood. And those are so misleading, because what it really means, a 100-year flood, what that term really means is that you have a 1% chance in any given year to have that flood. And a 200-year flood means you have a 0.5% chance in any given year. So And I also think that it's based on not enough data. You know, we just haven't been recording data on rainfall in California for all that long. And some of the earlier data is maybe not all that accurate. So, you know, to prepare for a 200 or 300 year flood doesn't mean that it won't happen for 200 or 300 years.
Thank you, Director Bishop. Okay, so any additional public comment on this item? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Morning, Creighton.
Good morning, Creighton Avila, project manager here with the agency. I am your pinch hitter today. Water resilience, we have 2 grants. One is from the Yuba Watershed Protection and Fire Safe Council for defensible space, and the other is the Sierra Fund, and you had a presentation from them a couple of weeks ago. That's on the hydraulic mine remediation and forest health integration planning grant. Any questions?
Any board questions or comments on these items?
No, so moved.
Okay, I have a first from Director Vasquez and a second from Director Messick. Any public comment on this item?
Morning, members of the board. My name is Nicholas Graham. I'm here representing the Sierra Fund, and I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity and your continued leadership in this type of work and within our watersheds. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any additional public comment? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Kyle Mergado, Water Resources Manager for Yuba Water Agency. Today, I'm presenting 7 requests, 4 from Hallwood Irrigation District. 3 of them are the 50% cost share to supplement U.S. Bureau of Reclamation grant and a pilot project that we'd fully fund. North Yuba Water District, we're doing 75% and 80%, and they're supplementing 20%. All of those projects are for improving water supply and loss, to improve loss in the system. That way we can get more water in the ditch to stay in the ditch to get delivered to customers. Dry Creek Water Company has a $500,000 grant for metering. That's also to increase water efficiency through proper metering of water. And then lastly, we have EA Family Services at Lake Francis Resort. It's a 75% cost share for improving their septic system and infrastructure for them to improve water quality in their at their nonprofit resort.
Okay. Any?
I would like to comment again, if I may. The deliverance of water in the North Yuba area, when we look at the fires we've had there, were very unusual, but all of a sudden in the middle of the night, we have 80-mile-an-hour winds. The only places that were safe for people and wildlife were places that were irrigated. So I just would like to compliment the North Yuba people for getting their districts together to irrigate more and more land for green areas, because I think it's the benefit both to the county and to the people that live there.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second it.
So before we vote on this, I do serve on the board of EA Family Services. It's a non-compensated position, so I would request that the board separate that item out, and I can leave the room when we take a vote on that. So is that correct, Council? I need to leave the room, or can I just abstain? Okay.
So put that in my motion.
So is your motion for the other grants? Okay. And the second is for the others? Okay. So any public comment on anything except EA Family Services in this list?
I'm Leona Harris with North Yuba Water District General Manager. On behalf of the district, we would just like to thank all of you for your support and Hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. We have some additional public comment.
Yes, this is about the water district. I'm a customer of the water district. What I'm looking forward to is seeing data about how many new customers the water district is going to have next year in April. They haven't provided any of that. I'm really looking forward to that. Where's the water going to come from? How many more new people or customers will be on that? I think the new customers should get first priority for the water, and any existing customers are last, because they're new. And as new water comes online, and like I said, I'm looking for numbers, for data. What exactly, how many people or new customers and how much water will they have available? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Not seeing any additional public comment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Blazer to go ahead and deal with the EA Family Services.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Who did the second? Me. Okay, Andy did the second. Any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Board. The last item is the cash flow loan to Camptonville CSD. We've partnered with Camptonville CSD for many years now, and they're very good at getting grants from the state. And as you know, the state pays after they reimburse you for the grant expenses. And so we have for several years now advanced the cash flow loan to Camptonville CSD, and we have always gotten our money back. And representative from the Camptonville CSD is here if you'd like to hear.
Any comments or questions from the board?
No questions, so moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Did you?
Charlie can do it. It doesn't matter to me, as long as we get it done.
Okay.
And a good morning.
Good morning.
Wet one. I'm Richard Ducard. I am a board member of the Camptonville Community Service District. I am the liaison to the water district. Like everybody else, we really here in Camptonville thank you for your 2 decades or more of support, not only for our water district, our fire department, and improvements to our watershed to increase fire safety. This cash flow loan covers half of the amount in the grant. The way it's working this time is they're going to give us 50% of the grant upfront for construction. No questions asked, more or less. And so for you, what we're asking is the other half, which has to do with engineering, design, administration, and whatnot. And as it was stated, you wait forever to get money from DWR. We have invoices from 3-4 months ago that we're still waiting on. And this, I don't know how other groups do it, because you get these invoices from contractors, and the expectation is they'll be paid within 30, maybe 45 days. And when you don't get the money for months, that doesn't work. This project is the third in the last 3 years that will bring the water department up to public health standards and make it more resilient to weather. Again, thank you. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay. Seeing no questions and no public comment, we already have a first and a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously.
I just have one final comment. As a staff person, I wanted to thank the board because I can't tell you how fun it is to administer the grant program and see all the investments that you are making in the community. It's wonderful. Thank you. And a special thanks to those pod committee members. We made you go through 2 meetings this time and listening to a lot more detail. So I really appreciate the time, pod members. Thank you.
Through the chair, staff deserves a thank you also for their hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you to staff and thank you to the grant recipients who came today and who spoke. So it's greatly appreciated to have you here. So any additional comments from the board? Okay. We will move on to item 4, consider approval of an approximately $10 million grant to Yuba County for the use predominantly on drainage related components of public works projects in Linda and Olivehurst areas, with one water distribution project in the Gold Village River Highlands area and a river access project at Star Bend. The Yuba Water Agency grant will help to leverage approximately $16.8 million in funding. Creighton.
Thank you, sir. Again, Creighton Avila, project manager here at the agency. Yeah, just working with the county here on another opportunity to leverage funding, outside funding. As Director Bradford said, about $16.8 million in outside funding for predominantly storm water related projects. With the approval here today of agency funds of $10,140,000 and predominantly projects in the Linda area. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Okay.
Through the chair, thank you for being an expert in leveraging funds from different areas. It's special talent today.
All the credit goes to the county. The county has been really diligent in looking after the stormwater projects, both in the there was agenda item weeks ago in Olivehurst and now again in Linda. So trying to work closely with them.
Okay. I have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Great. Okay, next we're going to move on to item 5, review of financial statements and details for General and Power Systems Fund for October 2023 and consider recommending approval of the final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 and projected budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. The matter was recommended by the ABP committee on December 5th, 2023. Morning, Curtis.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, the budget adjustment here in December. We will keep the same process that's been working for us the last few years. We'll start out by reviewing the most recent monthly financials that we have to kind of see up where the agency is, and then we'll go over the budget adjustments here for December. So we just had the audit 2 weeks ago, and we have the most recent financials. They are the October financials. Just the way the calendar landed this year, I was not able to produce the November financials. We just didn't have enough data quite yet in order to get it in the board packet. Typically, you guys are looking at November while the ABP looked at October, but still relevant information, so we'll jump right in. Agency-wide summary sheet. So this is kind of the at a glance health of the agency. For those of you looking at this for the first time, the columns are budget versus actuals. We have a couple years of history. We'll focus our attention on the far right, where we have actuals through October 31st, 2023. I have an added column for this presentation. We have the proposed budget that was brought to you in June, next to the final budget here in December before you this morning. From top to bottom, we start at the top with revenue broken down by our two funds, the Power Systems Fund and the General Fund. Kind of color-coded those blue and green to keep it easy to read. In the center section here, we have the expenses, again, broken down by fund, combine the expenses, and then our net effect on reserves, or our net income or net loss. Starting with October financials, we have Power Systems revenue of $58.5 million against a budget of $146.7. We're well on our way. We'll look at a little more power system detail here in a second. General fund revenue, just $592,000 so far against our budget of $23.7. We'll explain a little bit of that in the slide deck as well.
Looking at the differences in budget, no adjustments to power system revenue in the December budget adjustment. General fund, just a small budget adjustment, about 115,000. We were able to do a water transfer earlier this year with Contra Costa Water District that wasn't originally forecasted. So we added it into the budget just to give us the opportunity to call that out and let you know that there was an income stream that we did not originally forecast that came before us since the June budget was approved. Dropping down to expenses in power systems, we're at 14.3 million against our original budget of 77.7. The December budget will knock that down to 60.2, and we'll go over a couple of reasons why. General fund expenses, 19.5 million against a original budget of 65.9, almost 66 million. That one's up a little bit to 67.7. Again, we'll look at those individual projects. Agency combined expenses through October, 33.8 against our new budget of 127.9. Again, we do budget conservative. We're trying to leave roughly 10% of contingency on the table. We're trending a little under that, which gave us some comfort in lowering the budget. We do have an overall budget reduction here in December of 15.73 million in expenses. What that means for net effect on reserves, through October, we had 25.3 million that we would sweep into that new reserve policy that we approved last month. The original June budget forecasted 26.1 million. We've upped that to 41.9 million, almost 42 million because of the reduction in expenses. What we've really done with the expenses is spread them over multiple years. So the June budget really packed in expenses while we were still developing schedule on some of our larger capital improvement projects. Now that we have a little more clarity, we know that we can slide some of those expenses into the future, and we've updated our multi-year capital improvement plan to reflect it. And we're taking a little money out of the budget here in December. So we'll jump into a little more detail on October financials, starting with power systems revenue. For those of you looking at the chart for the first time, each column is representing the month by fiscal year. So there's a couple of years of comparison here. We'll look at October and we'll look at September too. So we didn't see this as a group last month. In September, we had 11.4 million in power systems revenue. That's down from prior fiscal year, but prior fiscal year, remember that it was either first or second week of September, we had the extreme heat wave that caused prices to spike. That abnormal event did not occur in September. Still a strong revenue month because RA values are still significantly higher, and kind of resurgence of carbon-free premium is an additional revenue source for us. In October, 7.1 million. Nothing particularly noteworthy in the month of October, but still benefiting again from the strong resource adequacy contracts that are in place and overall elevated prices in the market. General fund, last couple of months, no activity. This year, there's no accord transfers, so nearly all of this operating revenue, member unit water supply agreements, plus the new 115,000 from Contra Costa Water District. Onto expenses, similar concept with this chart, comparing months with a couple of past prior years. We'll look at October, 8.9 million. So it's up from prior year, but down from 2 years ago. That is definitely an outlier there in yellow. That was, as a reminder, that was our house sediment removal project, roughly a $6 million project that we do hopefully once every 5 years. We've done it a little more often lately as the sediment is deposited behind our house dam. That event did not occur this year. The 8.9 million is a reflection of some fairly large capital improvement projects that we have in power systems, like the power systems headquarters. That's trending about 1.2 to 1.5 million a month as they're well underway with construction. So for the remainder of this year, you'll see elevated expenses when comparing to prior years. Working with the ABP group, we're going to work on a chart that breaks out operating expenses from capital expenses to have more of an apples to apples comparison. One thing we want to do is keep an eye on those regular maintenance and operation expenses and looking at that trend. We don't want to see that escalating significantly. So when we see these elevated expenses and we can tie those to a specific capital improvement project, that gives us comfort and just confirms that we're investing in our assets. Other reason for elevated expenses, as you guys just heard in the first agenda item, the community impact grant program is well underway. As Terry mentioned, the projects could be multi-year. So we've seen quite a few agreements be signed since we spun up this grant program. The work is now underway, so we're seeing a pretty significant amount of disbursement through that grant program. We're up to 70 active grants that we're currently working on, and that's before the agenda item this morning. So a lot of good stuff in that grant program. This chart here is showing the portion of expenses related to that community impact grant program. Each column is total agency expenses, so that 8.9 whatever was in the prior slide is the total of that bar, but the dark blue top there, that is the portion of the expenses related to the community impact grant program. It was fairly significant in the month of October, actually represented about 18% of our total expenses. I don't expect it to be quite that high ongoing, but it will be fairly significant. We had that lull back in July. If you're looking at this chart, I think we were pressing so hard for June invoices to get our fiscal year end closed that we saw a bit of a lull in July. But now those invoices are coming back in and we're getting those partners reimbursed for the work that they're completing. This chart here is a regular in the monthly slide deck. It plots 2 data points per month. Revenue in blue, expenses are in red. You see we had a bit of a net loss here in October. That is not unusual. We haven't seen it the last couple of years because revenue has been so strong. But we, in the fall months, we have a reduced flow requirement. So we're typically generating a little bit less. We take that opportunity to take the units down one by one to do the annual preventative maintenance. So we see some elevated expenses coupled with a reduction in revenue. So these fall months posting small net losses is not unusual and not cause for concern, but we did see it in October. This was a variation of that. It basically takes the last 2 slides and combines them. So we have revenue in blue. We have our full expenses in that lime green, and that's demonstrating the net loss that we posted in October. We did have 18% of our expenses related to the Community Impact Grant Program. So the red line is plotting those expenses without the grant program. And we would have actually had a net income. This is just something that we look at every month just to be aware. If this becomes a trend, obviously we'll be the first to let you know. This is something that we do keep an eye on and we trend over time just to measure the impact of the Community Impact Grant Program on our financials. Last slide for the October financials. This is the rolling chart that's demonstrating the net effect on our reserves. Right out of the gate, we had $10.3 million in net income that we would sweep to the reserve policy in July. We peaked in September at $27 million. The small net losses we talked about in October has us down to $25.3 million. And the new December budget has this forecasted to end at roughly $41 million. We could see another small net loss in December or January as we have the Colgate outages. Those are fairly significant on the expense side, but we do expect another strong financial performance here for the agency. A brief pause on financials through October 31st before I hit a couple of the highlights of the December budget adjustment.
Any questions?
All right, hearing none, we'll take a look at a couple of tables here. I use these in the budget presentations. They're a little more useful when it's a new year in the June budget. But what this is doing is comparing actuals and looking at the trend compared to the budget that's before you. You do remember that we budget conservatively. So the trends might look a little sharp, but the budget is often on the revenue side is lower than what we end up achieving. On the expense side is a little higher than we end up achieving by design. We'll start with power systems. As we mentioned, there's no change here in December for the power system revenue budget. Actuals of 177.8. It took some significant events outside of our control to achieve that revenue number. We're down slightly in the budget to 145.9. Again, there wasn't that extreme September heat wave. It's those kind of events that will spike our revenue on power systems. Otherwise, we're fairly comfortable with the revenue budget that we've set. It does take into account those strong RA values continuing. Moving down to general fund, we mentioned the small $115,000 increase to operating revenue. That's the water transfer. We've seen a flip this year versus last year. Last year, we did have a small surface water transfer. So we had 12.2 million in operating revenue. This year, very small operating revenue, and it's more in the non-operating revenue. Remember, the bulk of that is incoming grant activity. I think we're up to about 15 incoming grants that we're managing to offset some of those expenses on the work that we're doing to make progress in our mission areas. The other bulk of that non-operating revenue is interest income. Given the rate hikes, interest income is now more important to us than when rates were significantly lower than they are now. So that's a win for us because we've got a lot of money invested and no borrowing. Jumping in power system expenses, overall, it's a reduction of the roughly 17 million. There's really two significant projects that are cause for this. Power systems headquarters, again, we had to dial in the schedule on power systems headquarters. So we were able to spread that cost over 3 years instead of 2 years, now that we know how long that project's going to take. So we've taken a little bit of money off the table for power system headquarters. Tunnel outage, as you guys know, shifted another year. There is still some significant budget in tunnel outage, roughly 5 million. We're going to continue making progress on tunnel outage to be ready. We still need to procure some of the large, long lead time parts in order to be ready, but less activity than if we were going to keep that tunnel outage in fall of 2024. Operating expenses, as far as changes in the December final budget adjustment, there's not many, and that's good news. We've I think accurately forecasted routine ongoing maintenance and operations. We're not trending over budget. I think those are in line, and that's not really accounting for any of the budget shifts that we're looking at here in December. Just calling out those two projects. So there's still 14 million remaining in power system headquarters and 5.1 remaining in tunnel outage. Both of those are down. I think it was 17 million in power system headquarters and a little over 12 million in tunnel outage. So that's just demonstrated the two projects that are really moving the needle. On over to general fund. The general fund overall budget in December is up. I believe it's 1.7. Couple of instances there. In IT, there are some capital improvement projects that they will now be able to complete. There's been some delays with those IT capital improvement projects that they've been waiting for materials and equipment. Everything has a long lead time in that field, but does look like their largest project, their microwave upgrade, will take place this year. So their budget is up nearly 1 million from the June budget with that comfort that that project is going to be underway. The other one that really moved the needle was in fishery enhancement, the Nature Like Fishway. That now has a budget as we continue to work on the Nature Like Fishway, including some geotech work that's happening now or maybe last week. We will need to look at the two line items here, the grant activity and flood risk reduction and community water projects. Community water projects is summing water supply, water education, water conservation all under one roof. But based on the agenda item this morning, we'll have to look at those schedules and see if we need a future budget adjustment. So if I do come before you in a month or so with a small budget adjustment to those grant line items, that's going to be why, is we need to sink our teeth into what those schedules look like. How much of it do we need this year versus future years, and determine whether or not we need a budget adjustment. But overall, in December for general fund, about a $1.7 million increase. Overall, reduction agency-wide, 15 million in this December budget adjustment. Just getting our arms wrapped around these larger projects, but the routine stuff is unchanged from June. So with that, I'll answer any questions on the December final budget adjustment.
Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, any public comment?
So moved.
First from Director Vasquez. Is there a second? Okay. Second from Director Blazer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is item 6. Consider recommending approval of some new positions, reclass of some positions, and approval of the proposed 23-24 salary schedule and personnel allocation. Terry?
Yes.
Oh, not Terry.
Teresa Della Santa, your HR manager. Thank you. And good morning.
Good morning.
So the report went to the ABP earlier this month, talked about it in detail, and they have recommended approval, but we'll go ahead and just summarize that very briefly. And just a quick background, the 3 main factors why these reports come before you is 1, transfer of work from consultants to in-house staff. 2, significant change in the employees' duties that are both more difficult and more complex. And then 3, of course, succession planning. So with today's requests, you probably see the 2 blue and white charts within the staff report. The first chart is showing the new position requests. And so that's a total of 2 additional full-time employees. 1 is a senior HR analyst to handle more difficult and complex work, and that's associated with new employment laws and labor relations. And then the other is an elect tech, which is an overhire that was already authorized by the general manager. And that's associated with succession planning. And then see the last one, the remaining new position is a risk manager. And that's not classified as new because it assumes the work of the power systems compliance manager, which will be eliminated after the new year. The remaining requests, as you see, are reclassifications of existing positions, and those are within that chart. And all of those reclasses are proposed really just because there was a significant change in duties, and the new titles more closely align, reflect the work that they're actually performing. And then lastly, just a couple of salary schedule revisions. That's for general counsel. We've added that to the salary schedule. You actually approved that job description back in June. And then a retired annuitant, and that's just required by PERS law for us to be able to hire retired annuitants at any kind of salary that we have. And then that was it. So I'll take any questions.
Any questions? I have a motion from Director Vasquez.
I'll second.
Second from Director Messick. Any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next up is item 7. Consider adopting resolution 2023-16, authorizing the general manager to execute all documents required to enter into and implement a DWR Yuba-Water funding agreement to improve Yuba-Water's operations and provide stream flows to promote the recovery of native species in the Bay Delta watershed.
Good morning, Chair Bradford and directors. What you have before you is a proposed resolution that would authorize the general manager to execute and implement a funding agreement with the California Department of Water Resources. In 2022, DWR was appropriated funding for multi-benefit projects and programs that support aquatic habitat and drought resilience. DWR has identified a total of just under $49.5 million to be made available through a funding agreement to reimburse costs associated with projects that will improve Yuba-Water's operations through structural and non-structural improvements that allow the agency to provide stream flows to promote the recovery of native species in the Bay Delta watershed. While the funding agreement would not require Yuba-Water to pay a specific portion of project costs, the agency would be responsible for project costs in excess of the reimbursable total. Essentially, a project authorized by this board would be required to be completed. Additionally, Yuba-Water's acceptance of this funding will not limit or be considered in determining the amount of any other state funding that Yuba-Water may be eligible to pursue. Under the funding agreement, Yuba-Water will reoperate the Yuba River Development Project to a new target September 30 storage level of 600,000 acre feet during specified water year types, beginning no earlier than April 1, 2025, and continuing through the end of December 2032, an 8-year term. Adoption of the resolution will authorize the general manager to execute the funding agreement and accept the reimbursement funding. And acceptance of these funds will allow the agency to further its objective of environmental stewardship in a responsible manner consistent with the Yuba County Water Agency Act. I'm available to answer any questions.
Questions from the board?
No, so moved.
I have a first from Director Vasquez and a second from Director Matthews. Any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes. Thank you, Adam. And next up is manager's report.
Okay. Well, things are going well. New Bullard's Bar is at 620,000 acre feet, which is 115% of normal. We have had a dry fall, but that is changing this week, as you can tell. Storm door is open. I've reported the El Nino conditions. It seems like so redundantly every 2 weeks that it's like, is it really El Nino or what's really going to happen? Well, we're seeing the results of El Nino, and that are warm storms. When I walked out of my house this morning to get in my car, I was surprised at how warm it actually was, given over the weekend I had frost on my windshield. But hey, we're seeing the results of El Nino. It looks like we're going to have this storm we're in now. There'll be a break for a few days, and then storms will continue around Christmas, and who knows what happens. But that's all good news. We're refilling the reservoirs. We're seeing runoff. This is how it's supposed to work, and hopefully we stay out of flood conditions. With regard to the plant operations and maintenance that's going on, I reported a couple weeks ago that we had a weld repair issue on Colgate Unit 1. All that is going well. That unit's returned to service and performing well. The Colgate Unit 2 outage is in January, so we'll make that same repair on Colgate Unit 2 based on what we learned on Colgate Unit 1. We're putting out about a little less than 1,000 CFS at Englebright right now. That may change depending on one, irrigator demand, and two, what these storms actually result in inflow. To communications and community relations update. The funding for the North Yuba Water District's Hell for Stout Flume was picked up by the Appeal Democrat, the Grass Valley Union, and KCRA 3's Evening News. The CEQA exemption for investigating the Deer Point Nature-like Fishway was also covered by the Appeal. The Appeal and Fox 40 News covered the wonderful news that Yuba County was awarded $48 million for the Olivehurst drainage and sidewalks projects, including the fact that our local cost share was being covered by the grant in full, and several comments of appreciation from Yuba County staff for our support in making it possible. The most recent issue of Byways magazine is out with an incredible spread on recreation at New Bullard's Bar. And later this morning, John James will be interviewing with the Appeal about our weather balloon launches in partnership with Scripps that have been taking place throughout this storm. On Saturday, many of our staff members and their families loaded up their trucks full of food and gifts and delivered to people throughout the area as part of So You Can's annual food and gift delivery for the holidays. And I'd like to give a special thanks to our staff who lead that effort and run that effort. We always have a great turnout, and that's a great benefit to the community. And also our new and improved sponsorship process is now up and running. So if you have any organizations that would like us to sponsor their events, please send them to our website where they can fill out a form and the committee will process that. Before I go on to conclude, this is our last board meeting for 2023. And I kind of have to round out the year by saying what a wonderful board you are to work for. Early this morning at 8 o'clock, we spent an hour talking about the challenges that are up against this agency and our pathway to get through those challenges. But then I jump in here at 9 a.m. and we start off with, our grant, our community impact program. And you see all the community members here that benefit from this agency. We got member units, we've got fire districts, we've got water districts, fire safe council, nonprofits, and just general community members. And Director Matthews talked about, the intention of the agency and what the agency was for flood control and water supply. And you saw the significant investment in flood control and water supply, but you also see the investments like the chief of Linda Fire got up and just thanked us for our participation for the last several years. And I just want to say those partnerships are expanding. Like we have our local community here and it's great to see all that, but with the Nature-like Fishway partnership we have with NIMS and CDFW, we're operating with our regulatory agencies in a different way, in a way where we're partnering instead of being regulated. And I hope to expand that and have that be long-lasting and not just a one-time thing for the construction of the project and then it goes away. So that is all a product of this board. And how do you guys make that happen? I'm going to speak for staff here, and I'll channel it through me, the general manager. You give us clear, quality direction. You guys have a strategic plan. You let us implement that strategic plan. We bring you issues. We have quality dialogue about that. When we walk out of this boardroom or we walk out of closed session, we know exactly what you guys want us to achieve and you let us achieve it. So I want to thank you for 2023. We're looking forward to 2024. It's a great board to work for. No matter what challenges we have, when you see community members in this room, that's what gets us to come to work every day and try and get through these challenges. So thank you. I'm not asking for a raise. I know it sounds like I'm asking for a raise, but I'm just telling you it is a fun place to work and we love doing it. Next board meeting is January 2nd. We'll get back to normal business.
Thank you, Willie. Any board questions on the manager's report? Okay.
Well, because we're such a good board, next time invite us to the Christmas.
Yeah, I heard, Andy. Thanks.
Okay, next we'll move on to director's reports. Director Bishop.
I would like to echo what both Willie and Terry said about, the satisfaction of being able to provide these grants. And I especially want to encourage we have a few people left in the room who can encourage the reclamation districts and the member units to bring projects forward. And I know those take longer, you have to do analysis and you have to do engineering but let's keep pushing those districts and member units to bring us quality projects that we can fund.
Thank you. Director Matthews.
I would like to comment. There was an article in the Appeal Democrat last week about the McCollum fish hatchery, and their returns of adult salmon are up at 27,000, and they're a small contributor to the Bay Delta. And it's a project that I've been encouraging our manager and board members to take a look at, because when we look at our people that want our water, there's three different people. The people that go for the cities, the farmers that need the water, and the fish that need the water. And they're competing against each other. And by finding ways to have returning adult salmon takes the pressure off the ocean people from trying to get more of our water. If we can get more returning adults without giving them more water, everyone can win. And I'm intend to continue to push in the area that we find ways to return adult salmon to the Yuba River. And I think that would be a goal that we all could accept and push forward. Thank you.
Director Messick.
I would like to thank Director Blazer for sitting in on the pod committee for me 2 weeks ago. I had to leave town the day before, and so thank you, Don, for doing that for me. And it
was very enjoyable.
And I like to see all these projects get funded out of that. That's it.
Thank you. Director Fuhr.
In relation to the impact we have in the community, absolutely. I was at a Yuba College presentation, and they were talking about their watershed certifications and programs they're doing. So we touch a lot of lives, we touch a lot of places, and it's all for the better. Obviously, I'm super excited about a certain $50 million grant that we got, and it was possible because the water agency was able to offer that $10 million match. So the things that the water agency is doing to improve our community are fantastic, and it is our amazing leadership, but maybe the people who actually carry the burden and the flag forward and storm the hill. So thank you. Merry Christmas all.
Thank you, Director Blazer.
So this is a very satisfying meeting. What I really want to do is acknowledge and thank our 100+ employees who contribute to the final result of us supporting Yuba County to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. So it's, as the end results, we get to make these kind of decisions. But if it wasn't for all these employees doing all their jobs, which are very varied, we wouldn't even be able to do this. So thanks again to all. How many do we have? 100 and something. But anyway, thanks again.
Director Vasquez.
Well, I just want to thank, as Willie said, our board for working together toward common goals to make Yuba County a better place to live in. As you go to RCRC and you go to CSAC and you go to SACOG, you'll find it's Hatfields, McCoys, and everybody's out for their own. Whereas we go to those meetings just to remember how good this place actually functions. So thank you, staff. Thank you, board, for working together in spite of our differences.
Great. Thank you. Excuse me. So about a week and a half ago, Willie and Adam and I were down at the CFE conference, and it went very well. So Willie and I got to tag team on a panel about the nexus of water and power. And I think that went well as well. There were some great discussions. It was a really interesting format for a conference. Basically, everyone sits around a really big table and a panel presents, and then you spend kind of the remaining time of that session in discussion. So Q&A around the table. And you have state legislators there and various folks from water and power and labor and just a very broad cross section of people from leaders from across the state. So it gave us some great exposure to those folks, and I'm glad that we were able to go do that. And so thank you, Willie and Adam, for that opportunity. And also thanks to our employees, excuse me. And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. So with that, we'll see you next year.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.